In the last video, we created our Maya project for the coil and we moved our references into the source images. If you're doing your second model step by step with these videos, you should also have another Maya project named whatever you pick to do. I picked the clothespin, and then under source images I have the reference images for that. Back inside of Maya, I want to go File, Set Project, and this is the first thing we'll always do before we start working. And like I said, we're going to do the coil together, so I'm going to set my project to the coil, hit open, and after I do that, I'm actually going to have access to all the files or folders inside of here. So what we want to do next is bring our reference into here. So we have a top, front, and side view, and you should feel familiar with what I'm doing from the Mr. Potato Head part of lecture. And if you don't feel comfortable with this, go back to that and review the intro to Maya stuff and the modeling tools. So in my top view, I'm going to go View, Image Plane, Import Image. And inside of here you can see it jumps to that coil reference. Because I've set my project, it has access to that. I'm going to hit spacebar, and I'm just going to kind of use the arrow key to go down through here, and I'm going to look for this view, which is the top. And I'm going to hit open, and then I'm going to go to my front and side view and do the same. So I clicked on my front view, I go View, Image Plane, Import Image, and the front view is the one that's called coil, so I'm going to hit open. And then in the side view, I'm going to go View, Image Plane, Import Image. And I'm going to look for this one, which is one of the two side views. So you only need to bring one side view in, but we'll use both as we go back and look at this stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and click open, and now we have my side view reference inside of here. The next thing that we're going to need to do with the reference is make sure that it's the proper size. So you can see all these relatively fit close together, but we want to make sure that we're going to model this to the correct height. So we're going to go inside the parts and size guide. So if you open that up in Excel, and this is inside your 3DF materials folder, we're going to look for the coil, which is right here, and it's 14.6 centimeters high. So I'm going to go to my front view and hit spacebar, and that brings me into it. It enlarges it. I'm going to go to Create, Measure Tools, Distance Tool. I'm going to click right at the bottom of the coil, and that drops a what's called a locator there. And then I'm going to hold Shift and roughly click where the top of that is. Okay, so this says it's currently 5.22 centimeters tall, so we need to scale this up. Before we do this, it's going to be helpful though if we group all this stuff together. So I'm going to go into my outliner, which is Windows, Outliner, and we use this in the Mr. Potato Head project. So let's Shift Select all of these, so 3 image planes, and it should be 2 locators and a distance tool. And we're going to hit Control G to group it. I'm going to double click on that and call this reference. So now I know inside this group is all my references. And if I scale this, it's going to scale everything inside that group together. So I'm going to hit R, which brings up my scale, and I'm going to grab from the center, which is this yellow one right here, and I'm going to start scaling up. And let's jump back to my size guide, and 14.6, I just wanted to double check that, and we're at 14.74. Sometimes when you zoom in, it's going to be a bit more accurate as you scale. So 14.605, as long as you're within 1 decimal place, or I'm sorry, 2 decimal places, that's going to be accurate enough. So this doesn't have to be exactly 14.6, but as close to 14.6 as possible. The last thing that we're going to want to do before we start modeling with this is I'm going to hit W, and I'm going to select each one of these references, and the direction the arrow is pointing when I hit W is I want to move it the opposite direction till it's off the grid. This is going to make it easier for me to see kind of my parts and such when I'm modeling inside of Maya. And then in the outliner, I'm going to open this reference tab, and I'm going to grab the two locators and the distance dimension, so just shift select those, and I'm going to hit Control H to hide those for now. We're not going to need those till later, and potentially we'll turn that on while we're grading, so just hide that for now. So we have a reference folder, 3 image planes, and then the distance tool so that we know it's the correct size.